what I've done wasn't all for financial gain. It was more so to build relationships. So a lot of people want to build their brand, but they never want to leave the house. I know we have social media, but there's nothing, more powerful than word of mouth, I think that's like the key to expanding your brand or getting to know people. I think when you are walking in your purpose and you're doing something that feels good, money is the byproduct. It's something that, you naturally, it starts to stick to you,
Yeah.
So I want to be able to impact as many people as I can while I'm here. But I also want to be able to leave. When I do leave, I want to be able to leave with legacy and set my family up.
We got Larry Morrow, King of New Orleans, here with us. We've got my new glasses that Mel don't like.
That's crazy. I was the only person.
You were the
said
only
you
guy that liked
them.
them. The producers don't like these glasses, but I'm wearing them anyway. You don't like the glasses, Tom?
No, I was. There's a bug here.
Oh, that's a bug.
No.
Oh shit.
Ah, see. All right, let's recut.
No, we don't.
No. We don't have to
We
recut.
don't have to recut that. That's just.
Senior.
And my fans, people have seen these glasses. And I'm starting to get calls from all over the place.
Who's calling you from senior luxury living?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to introducing Larry Morrow.
Yeah.
We met Larry, 5 years ago through Mel, and have become fast friends. He has an amazing restaurant empire down in New Orleans, and couldn't be more excited to have you.
One of your favorite cities.
Appreciate y'all, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you.
My home away from
coming
home.
up here.
How did that become one of your favorite cities?
When I was in flight school, I would go there for the weekend, and it's just so much fun. Mardi Gras, Jazz Fest. And then I would go down there for music. After Katrina, we went down there to see if we could help out. We bought some trumpets for people, and I just started making a couple times a year sojourn. And then my daughter moved down to Baton Rouge, and we decided to buy a house, and now we're guest residents.
Yeah, and I noticed you really love the music and the culture because you always got a jazz musician at your house.
If you can't play, you got to bring them around.
Right.
Yeah. And really, we've gone down to New Orleans a lot, both before we met Larry and then after Mel introduced us. And it really changed and opened up a whole new piece of New Orleans for us, right? It's
Yeah.
he runs in a
Dave.
really unique.
Dave fell in love with Treehouse.
Treehouse, man. It's my home away from home.
That. He fell
Larry
in love
knows
with
that.
Treehouse.
Well, it's interesting. It's an interesting point
right.
because, talk a little bit about what your empire looks like. And I was kidding around before, and I got slapped by Mel. I said, "Larry's the king of Black New Orleans."
But I remember last time Dave came, he was like, "I gotta stop by Treehouse before I leave." So I didn't go, but he still went to Treehouse. He still went to Treehouse.
It's a different experience.
He
It would be
definitely felt like he had to stop by before he left. But that's what I look to create. Create moments and memories to where people want to visit. Whether it's Treehouse, Morrow's, but. Started at an early age, just entrepreneurship, opened up my first restaurant at 22 years old. That was, I would call it the best, worst time in my life. It was the time where I lost so much but learned so much. I was, on the edge of just 22, becoming a man, a lot of responsibility, helping my family, my mother, my sister, my grandmother. Mom was going through a divorce. So, at that point, a few years before that, I stepped up and just wanted to help my family. So after that, Larry's Po' Boys and Wings on Canal Street, it closed down after about 6 months. Just was the wrong timing in my life. So, but it taught me so much, and I didn't know it would prepare me for when I opened up Morrow's in 2018. I was 28 at the time, 27 going on 28. And it just taught me that you gotta have, you gotta have reserves, right? I went into that restaurant all in. I didn't have money to pay rent next month. I wasn't mature enough to say, all right, you gotta wake up in the morning and go do X, Y, and Z in order to operate this restaurant. So it just taught me so much. And by the time we opened up Morrow's when I was 28, I built my brand was a lot bigger. My finances looked different. So I just knew I had to, put money up for a rainy day to be able to sustain, this restaurant. And that's what I did. And, that kind of launched everything. It really took things to another level for me because I was able to create that stability within my family. And also, in the process, create something that I didn't know would now turn into a hospitality group.
What did you do between the kind of failure of, what was the first one called? Wings?
Oh, Larry's Po' Boys and Wings. Yeah.
Larry's Po' Boys and Wings.
Yep.
And then 6 years later, right, give or take, 5 years later when you open Morrow's, which is like an institution now. But like, what did you do in that interim to set yourself up for success? Like, what were you doing?
So I started producing events at like 19 to 20 years old. I would produce these events, and the first person I booked was, a reality TV star, Dre Michelle. Booked her, showed her a great time. Her and the manager, Marcus, they came down. And that was like the first person I booked, but it taught me so much because, I was just showing them, like, how everybody come to New Orleans? I was just showing them a good time, showing them the Southern hospitality. But that led to us becoming friends. And I went to LA. They introduced me to like everybody, so many people in LA that, I'm still cool with 13 years later. So that just showed me how important relationships were. And when I got back to New Orleans, everybody I would book, I would basically do the same thing. I would roll the carpet out. I would just go above and beyond what the expectation was, which helped me establish a lot of relationships in the industry to the point to where, if you come to New Orleans, you got, this person calling this person saying, connect with Larry Morrow. And it just became a domino effect to the point to where I'm here,
Yeah. It's interesting because we had Eugene Rem on, right, from EMM Group and Catch, and we were kidding that he's got the best Rolodex. I mean, you name it. I mean, even in his new restaurant, Taylor Swift's been there twice, and now it's blown up. Corner store.
I called him. I said, Eugene, can you get Taylor to the restaurant when she came to New Orleans?
So basically, though, your like that work of like connecting, networking, right, really like set you up for when you open Morrow's. Was that a success from like the jump?
Yeah, honestly, so I was so motivated at that point in my life because, my mom, I come from a small family. Me, my mom, my sister, my grandmother. Yep. I have, a sibling, my sister, who's 11 years old, and a sister who's 35, right? Mom started all over at 40. But that I was so motivated because of the struggles. Like, I watched life take my mom on this roller coaster ride. And being the only man, I felt compelled to step up at an early age and just do what I can to help. So that was the reason for opening up Larry's Po' Boys and Wings, because my mom proposed me with that. And she was like, hey, here's an opportunity for us to do something. Even after that, it was another restaurant, Lenora's Grill, that we were partners on, but it was more so I didn't really get involved. It was just something I was doing to try to help,
So
my
your
family.
Mom was always in the restaurant business. She was a chef.
She was always in the restaurant
always
business.
In the restaurant business.
Worked in the hotel business.
And your grandmother's also.
My grandma. And so the spot I opened up, Larry's Po' Boys and Wings, my grandmother had that spot in 99. So my mom thought it was a great idea to go back and get it because she made a lot of money there. Go back and get it. It's doing well, but it's just the wrong timing in my life. I'm young. I'm not trying to do, I wasn't trying to be as responsible as I was. So, so I just watched life take my mom and my family on this roller coaster ride. New life, having my little sister, like, brought so much light into our lives. I felt like a dark cloud was over us. So that new life, from there, just things started to change. And when we opened up Lenora's Grill, things started to change, but it never really, we still had...
Is that the first one you did with your mother?
The first one I did with my mother was Larry's Po' Boys and Wings, yeah.
So she was your partner in that and
Yes.
Lenora's Grill?
Yeah, and then...
And in Morrow's?
Yeah, Lenora's Grill was her. I just played the backfield, and but that ended up closing and, was back to square one. And I told her, I said, Ma, she found another location, proposed me with that, and was like, hey, here's another opportunity. And, I just... Even after the failures, I was just so motivated to just try to figure out how are we going to create some stability within our family. And so I made the investment, called them, named it after me, called them Morrows, and I told her, I said, I promise you, when it's open up, this is gonna be the one. Because I knew, at that point, I'm great at promoting, right? I can do a party in the middle of a block and fill it with thousands of people. And I knew at that point, with the relationships, with the community support I built, I was going to be able to, we were going to be able to just pack this restaurant. So she was able to focus more on the kitchen, and I would focus more on curating the vibes, the promoting, getting the people there. At one point, she was playing every role, but when we both collaborated, it was like the perfect concoction to really, the success of Morrow's, right? And first day, line down the block, and from there, the momentum kept going on.
First year, did you have any, again, with Corner Shop, Taylor Swift shows up, and now you can't get Corner Store. You can't get a reservation for months. Did you have any celebs show up that gave you got a
Yeah,
little
so
buzz?
we were open. We opened up in April of 2018. In July of 2018, Drake came. But now that Drake situation happened because I booked Drake in 2016. I did a party with him inside Masquerade, inside the casino, and it was a big party, one of the biggest parties I've done financially. I lost. I knew that it was a possibility that I would lose, but I was more focused on establishing that relationship, right? Being a kid from New Orleans, how do you get these relationships outside of New Orleans? You got to take some risks. So, I was willing to risk, some money in order to position myself to build this relationship, not knowing I would open up Morrow's. So lost money on that party, but built a relationship with him and his team.
So he shows up at Morrow's one day.
Yeah, I'm in LA. I think we probably was in LA at that time. That's when we used to go back and forth. I'm talking to, I'm at like a private party, and they told me, they said, we're going to be in New Orleans Monday shooting a Nice for What video. We're going to come by. So he came by, ate at the restaurant. The whole city of New Orleans is outside. And like he took a picture, posted it, went viral. And that was after 4 months of being open. So we had a lot of different experiences like that really helped create, we had the momentum, but it just took it to another level.
It's amazing the power that the mega celeb has.
Yeah.
They're just, they bless your spot, and your spot's a spot.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool, yeah.
You're a great party thrower. Larry's a great party thrower too, right? Like in different ways, But you seem so cool when you throw a party. Like, do you stress about it?
Does Mike not seem cool?
Mike's got a little more stress, when it's who's showing up. Right? You get that anxiety.
Yeah, I
in
drink
the
a lot.
hour,
I was
too.
about to
drink
say
too
that.
much.
I
Do you
didn't
get that?
realize I get anxiety prior to, especially the big events. I didn't realize that till a few years ago. A friend mentioned it to me and was like, you get anxiety every time, and I just started to panic in a sense, and I didn't realize I was having anxiety. It was just more so I just wanted everything to be perfect. But I think that's like anybody who is striving for greatness, before any big, event in their life, they're going to get nervous and get excited and experience those emotions. So I would before every event, because one small thing could turn the whole party.
Have you
Or can
ever
shut it down.
left a party mid-party because the party didn't turn out the way you wanted it to?
Can't leave your own.
No, it hasn't. The last part that didn't turn out the way I wanted it to was probably when I first started.
Did you ever leave?
No, I wouldn't.
Talk about going from Morrow's, which is like an institution, which is one of my. I love Morrow's. I love Treehouse. Everybody knows this. Right? But there's something really special about Morrow's and about the hospitality that's shown there, and his mom's in the kitchen, and it's just regulars and tourists, and it's a really cool vibe.
Like such a classic, dope ass New Orleans story.
Yeah. And I think what's cool is since then you've opened I don't want to say 5 more places or something right between that.
Since Morrow's I opened up.
Yeah,
Treehouse.
talk about them.
So after Morrow's opened up Treehouse in 2021, and since 2021 I opened up 5 more locations.
Right.
1 club and 4 more restaurants.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're scaling pretty quick, right? This is all happening in 5 or 6 years.
How many employees?
Right over 400, between 400 and 500, because we're actively hiring before this new location.
So let me
opening
ask you a question. When you think about that, do you damn, I'm employing 400 people and giving them jobs and they're helping them pay their families? And do you feel good about it, or do you feel like, oh shit, I'm employing 400 people. If I screw this up, they're going to be out of work?
It's a good feeling, and because when you think about it, it happened so fast. Life changed so fast, and the reason being is because coming out the pandemic, everybody felt probably not motivated just with everything that was going on. And when I came out the pandemic, I'm like, I'm either be extremely wealthy or extremely poor. So that's when I just started to double down and just acquire all these different locations. I committed to so many different things that I didn't even know how I was going to pay. Right, I had damn near $100,000 a month in leases. And I just knew that at that moment I opened up Treehouse and I'm making a lot of fast cash, so I was able to afford to do it. But that really motivated me, so I just decided to scale up. And after opening up Treehouse, I had an opportunity to open up the next restaurant, which is Monday, my biggest location, probably 15,000 square feet. That's my busiest location, and I actually just acquired that building a month ago. So I closed on that, trying to get into the real estate part of it to where, not just operating the restaurants, but, getting the asset as well. And from there, we opened up Sun Chung, which Sun Chung was more so like it's like my love letter to my grandmother. It's just like, you know, her journey, you know, paying homage to her journey from Korea to America and building, you know, her foundation and her family tree and planting her feet to, you know, that we can build on, you know. So that's what that one was about. And it was such like a emotional project because while opening up that spot, we having all these different conversations with my grandmother and just discovering so much. And, you know, I got long recordings in my phone to where she's crying, just talking about her journey from Korea. And that was probably the most gratifying, you know, just opening that location because it was so much emotion behind it, and being able to give her flowers while she's still here was probably the best feeling ever. So
Let me ask you another question. So it's easy to see where you're like, okay, I'm going to be in the restaurant game. I'm going to create vibe. But you also have payroll tax and tax to pay on the restaurant. And I'm sure you're taking
Insurance.
leases and contracts. You didn't go to business school. Like, where did you learn the nuts and bolts of how to financially operate without getting in trouble, without being running for 3 years and then having the IRS say, oh, dude, you owe 5 years of back tax?
Well, so it's simple. It's like mentorship, right? Like, for example,
Was it your mom? Was your grandma?
no, it was actually a friend of mine, Sydney Torres. When I opened up Morrow's, and Morrow's is open, and I'm just operating. He advised me to use his CPA. He also turned me on to a bookkeeper, him and a couple of his friends. And, you know, I read in his book one time, it said, follow the money. And so if you have people that, you know, you admire in business and they're doing great for themselves and they give you advice, you have two options. You can take it or you cannot take it. And I'm one of those people that I'm gonna follow through, right? So he said my CPA is, you know, pretty expensive, but I think you should do it. So at that point, I'm not, you know, just because it was more, I wasn't gonna not do it. I did it because I trusted him, and you know, he's
a New Orleans guy.
Yeah, and he built the company. You know, his company is worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and so he gave me that advice. So I ended up hiring them to take care of our books after like being in business for like a year, and that helped keep all of our paper and our paper trail, everything in order, even to the point to where I closed on Monday recently. And they were saying to be such a big group and growing so fast, we had our, you know, all of our financials in order more than the bigger groups they know. And that felt good because that's something that Sydney would preach to me and tell me that, like, yo, you got to have this, you got to have that, because he's big on financial literacy. So that was a big help because of that, I'm able to go. I bought Morrow's as well. Earlier this year. So now I purchased those two properties this year, and I purchased them both from Sydney.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Larry's really good, I think, at finding mentors, right? That's what
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked
Yeah.
about that, even how kind of we became tight, and Eugene Rem or whoever it might us, and I think you're not only good at finding them, but like listening to them, right? Like picking brains and around specific things. That's a good question because I think a lot of people do start businesses and it starts flowing and cash flowing and you forget about all that
Yeah.
stuff and it really comes back to
A
bite
lot of
you.
people don't understand the science behind it all, right? Like, you can make money, but how can you manage it? Like, can you manage it? So, that was the thing. And once I found, that secret, hiring a proper CPA and just diving deeper into the business and learning the science behind it, the food costs, the labor and everything, it made things 10 times easier to where if I get a report at the end of the week and I see that my labor's too high or my food cost is too high, I can easily scale back by knowing where I am versus, not knowing where I am, which a lot of businesses are operating blindly, right? Not knowing where they are currently.
So, Larry, you also, the mayor, the police chief, a lot of the local politicians. Like, when did that become important for your business? When did you meet them all? Is it important for your business? And you're part of the fabric of New Orleans, which is a city of 500,000 people. It's a small city, but it's an awesome city with more tourists, per capita than any city in America, right? So you look at the total tourists that come to New Orleans versus 500,000, it's got the highest ratio.
Right.
So it's a tourist city. So talk a little bit about like the political landscape of restaurant business. Do you know those guys because they just want to know you? Do you know those guys because you need them for licensing? Like, what's
I think when I was I'm 33 currently, but as I started to build my reputation, and imagine, you a young guy in New Orleans, early 20s, producing these events. I got anybody you could think of in entertainment, actors, rappers, ball players, whoever hosting my events. They would come down and they would come to my restaurants. They would come to my parties. It's a small town, and so everybody would see what's going on. So I was able to build a lot of community support, and I think, I would organically build these relationships. Like back when I was 25, I didn't have them, right? But as I started to grow older and start to understand politics a little bit more, and politics, everyone need community support. Now, I'm not deep into politics to where I'm telling people who to vote for. I may be telling them to vote, but I would build these relationships and, offer support, a platform to different people within New Orleans, whether it's, politicians or just anybody in politics. So I would build these relationships. They would come by the restaurants, and it kind of just organically built. Even for my grand opening, they had so many different politicians, councilmen at large, upcoming people in the race. It was so many people. The news anchor came and was like, "How did you get all these people in one room? Because you rarely see them in one room." And that was just something that I think just over the years, we were able to build that community support outside of just, the locals.
What part of New Orleans did you grow up in?
In the 7th Ward.
I think also with the politicians, right, elected officials, stakeholders, right, I think they also see that Larry's cares. He's employing people. He's doing the right thing. He's creating jobs, right? So these guys, in a sense, that's good for their city too, right? Like, you don't want a city where nobody's entrepreneuring and nobody's right and things. So when they see somebody that's committed, stable, one of their own, right? That's straight, right? Even how he started out said, I don't tell people who to vote for, right? I may say vote, right? Or something, but that's important, right? It's not partisan. It's not about him it's really about him doing what's right by people in New Orleans, right? And I think there's something powerful in that, in terms of conceptually, right? If you're a business and you're doing the right things, employing the right people, paying your taxes, kind of giving back, so to speak, while making money. I think people respect that, and you become a go-to in that way.
And I spent a lot of time outside, meaning I'm talking about during the weekend, just when I was building my brand, I was shaking hands with everybody, just meeting people. So a lot of people want to build their brand, but they never want to leave their house. I know we have social media, but there's nothing, more powerful than word of mouth, I think that's the key to expanding your brand or getting to know people.
If you look at how many people come to the restaurant in a week, what percentage of them are from New Orleans and what percentage are tourists?
Man,
or does it go up and down?
We get so many tourists. I would say it's probably 50-50 or maybe 60% tourists. A lot of locals believe that we're still on a wait from 2018, right? So it makes people feel fear of waiting, or going tomorrow. So that's why we're expanding. But we get a lot of tourists because we're a tourist city, so we thrive off of tourism. But also, having that local support helped us even in the pandemic.
Yeah, you know what else is? I'm just gonna name a quality too, and it's when we were going to Ghana, right? Mel and I had plans to go to Ghana, right? Because you had the Chance the Rapper event and 2 hours there. You couldn't go on that trip, and he calls me 3 days before, and he's like, I'm coming up to New York on Thursday. What are you doing? You remember this? And I was like,
No. I was on a flight to New York.
Oh, you're on a flight.
We're texting. Yeah.
Texting. Maybe it was happening in 24 hours. And he's like, well, don't put that out there. I'll go too. And basically landed in New York. We booked him a trip, booked him a flight to Ghana. Didn't even have a visa. We had to get it when we were there. Remember? And then but it's about he's just I'll do it. This is gonna you never know what you're gonna find on the other end. It's not sitting home doing social media. It's
you got to be willing to get out there and just explore. But he texted me and he was like, yeah, we're going to Ghana. He said, man, I wish you could come.
Was it your first time to Africa?
Yeah, I said, was that an invite? Was that an invite? So I landed in New York. Mind you, I didn't leave home with expectations of going to Ghana. Right? So I had somebody work for me, fly out, bring my passport. They flew back the same day. Literally, I met them at the airport. They hopped back on a flight, bought me some cash, and I literally left, with them that night to go to Ghana. And it was imagine me calling my fiance, telling her, hey, I'm about to go to Ghana. It's a few days before
So
my
what is
birthday.
it? You're a black guy. First time. Yeah, next thing you're in Ghana. What was it like?
What being black got to do with it?
What is? Because Africa was that's where all the slaves got sent from.
Nah, but
Like
nah.
always got to tiptoe around this black. He doesn't know, right?
Tiptoe,
No,
and
he
I'm
doesn't
asking
know how to
the
handle
direct
it,
question.
no?
Like for a lot of
No, what
people,
do you
the
think?
black
Turn
people in
it around
America,
again.
the,
Larry actually is blackish.
He's black.
Yeah.
he's black. His
Yeah,
restaurants are
right.
black. You know.
Nah, but it was and it was an amazing feeling, like just seeing how their culture, how they party. It reminded me a lot of culturally New Orleans, just because it's so rich in culture. It's not many places you can go to that's so rich in culture. But when I saw how they were out there just living, partying and just like dancing to the music, it felt like real spiritual. Why? Because they were just living carefree and just dancing and just letting the beats just take over them. So it was a pretty cool experience, and I'm always like, thankful for that opportunity because, just to be able to go out there was probably, I can't tell you when I would probably be going to Africa, because it wasn't a part of my plans yet, but it was a great experience.
Mel, how'd you guys meet? How'd you and Larry meet?
Me and Larry met at a dark alley in the back of a mall. He had on some Timbs. This girl, Morgan, shout out to Morgan. She takes credit anyway, Trey. She's like, I made them meet, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
This girl was like, I think we were down there for Super Bowl, right?
No, you was on tour. We're busy.
Always on tour with
Yeah.
one of our artists, yeah. She was like, gotta meet this kid from the city, throw all the best parties, so on and so forth. And I remember meeting Larry in the back of like a little alley mall. I'm like, I hope this kid doesn't rob me. Like, I don't know nothing about him. It was by a mall, right?
Yeah, it was right behind Canal Place. It was just dark. It wasn't an alley. It was a street, but it was dark as shit. Yeah.
Everywhere dark in New
Yeah.
Orleans feels like a fucking alley. And we met, and we hit it off right there.
Yep.
And can't remember, did we hang out that week?
I don't know if we hung out, but I remember coming to New York, and that was my first time going to New York. And when I came to New York, it was, him and Lonnie, man, they just kind of, rolled the carpet out and showed me a side of, life at that young age I haven't seen, right? You come out here, you got Mel, they got the Cullinans, not the Cullinans, the Rolls Royces and everything, Sprinter vans back to back. And, when you a young
Mel
guy.
always had a good ride.
No, listen. When you're a young guy and you see that and I'm from New Orleans, right? I didn't see too much of that, right? Coming to New York and seeing, how they were living, being in the penthouse and just being motivated, it would inspire me to go back home and turn up, right? So I would come back, maybe once, twice a month just to kind of, we were building. And at that point, we became extremely tight. And I was just always inspired by, just seeing them do what they do and just getting a chance to, check out New York and, Brooklyn. Like, all his homies became my homies,
So back then, like, was Lonnie was Batman and Mel was Robin?
They were like,
Shout out to Humble King.
yeah, nah. They both were like, brothers. You know what I mean? So I looked at them both as, brothers. So it was a great experience though because that really helped, turn me up in a sense. When I say turn me up, it just really helped me level up because I was exposed to things that I wasn't exposed to back home.
If he can do it, you can too.
Right.
That's blackish for like becoming something.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, because in New Orleans, man, I'm from a city where I
don't
didn't
even
have
need
at
a
that
dictionary
time,
anymore.
many, people to look at and admire, at that early age, So coming to a big city like New York, I would watch, Paid in Full on TV, and I'll be, in high school talking about, yo, what up, B? And to come to New York
on
and really,
Tim's when I met him.
right, to come to New York and really, just experience the New York culture and be in Brooklyn on Flatbush and just just checking out everything that I used to see on the movies was dope.
So
right, let's get back
Flatbush
to Super
motivated you.
I mean, I would say Mel and
Shout out to
Lonnie.
Flatbush.
Flatbush was a part of that. You know what I mean? Mel and Lonnie really motivated me and really helped, me see things, the other side.
Let's get back to Super Bowl. We were going to do Super Bowl before.
I got a question about Super Bowl. Why does New Orleans get so many Super Bowls? Or how?
I think when you
It's
look
like
at
the fourth one since I met you, right? Or third?
We're this is the second, but this is like we're culturally rich. You know, like there's not many places in the world that has the culture that New Orleans has. So it's extremely unique. It's right there in the center, right?
You can walk to the Superdome.
You can get to Houston, Miami, Atlanta, New York, California. You get everywhere in the country, so quick, 2-3 hours. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why.
Great bars, great food, tons of hotels.
Everything centralized.
It's so fun to walk to the frickin' stadium and then you'll walk right back into Bourbon Street or, the French Quarter.
Let me ask you a question. You're a hustler, businessman. Do you think, I know you could have did it anywhere. You could have did it in New York. You could have did it wherever. But when we go to New Orleans, I'm even shocked all the time. Like, the police chief, I'm making that up, but the police shows up for us and gives us this motorcade ride to wherever we're going, right? And like, if you needed to get me off a plane, you could get me off a plane. And anything you need to do in New Orleans, it's like, I'm in New York, Mike, Dave, we could barely get a fucking cop to help us cross the street, right? But in New Orleans, there's this like almost like, I want to call it family sense of everybody. Everybody kind of know each other. You know everyone. Everyone knows you. And they know this is Larry. Larry looks out. Let me look out. However that works. Do you think you would have been able to do that, what you're doing in New Orleans in another city? Roll the red carpet out to that level?
I think...
Or do you think it's something special in New Orleans that allowed you to roll it out to that level?
I think a lot of people, when they do things for a financial gain, right?
Yeah.
A lot of what I've done wasn't all for financial gain. It was more so to build relationships. So it was a lot of me taking care of a lot of people, booking people, doing a lot of extra stuff in order to build these relationships in a city where I had none. Because if you look at it on the flip side, I would pay top dollar to have people come to New Orleans host my events. If I was in New York, I would have it easy and have people in my backyard and have to pay a quarter of what I was paying then. So like, I think that it's yes and no, because I mean honestly, I can do what I can do in New York. It's a lot easier than what I could do in New Orleans, because I wouldn't call this Hollywood, but you're in one of the prominent cities in the country where everybody is. So I had to go, and I got to pay for the jets. I got to pay for the artists. I got to pay for those things. It's not a club paying for it. It's me as a promoter paying for it.
So in a way, but I think what he's saying is like, he goes above and beyond in those ways. So you're seeing that. Yeah.
I get it.
That character trait really helped me establish what I did with the city, with the police, with the community, with everything. So without that, you don't have those roads being open.
No, I completely agree. But I think more so what
New York is different, though. New York is
that, I feel like we're nice to everybody, right? And I feel like there's guys out here that cater kind,
New York's
whatever.
got 9 million people. New Orleans has got 500,000.
Yeah, that's
totally
what I'm saying.
different.
I'm saying, do you think, like, I don't think, I know I couldn't do that. He can't do that out here. That's part of the Larry brand. And it's an experience you never experienced before, unless you're some kind of politician and a high up one. You know what I'm saying? Do you feel like you could have did that in Houston?
Yeah, I think in Houston. I think Houston is not as big as New York, but Houston is a city that I live in Houston as well. But I think I think New Orleans was the perfect city in which I happen to be from. But I think, every city would have its challenges to where it may have not looked like that. But I think with me wanting to go above and beyond, that it would have looked like something, but maybe not like that, right?
It's almost like he figured out the combination
Yeah,
to New Orleans.
100%.
And if it was in Houston or New York, he would have figured out another combination.
So that's what it is. Yeah, perfect.
We
way to
have
put it.
restaurateurs in the city that have big personalities, right? That if you think about Danielle, or who's got, I don't know how many, there are 10 different restaurants, and he knows his clientele, and he comes and talks to you at the table. And so there's a history of restaurateurs that build brands. They don't have, like Larry in New Orleans feels like a celebrity, which is really funny. You go to a club with them and everyone's coming up to them and they know him. They're like, I saw Larry Morrow. And I think that's partly the scale.
Yeah,
Like you just
yeah.
can't.
I would say this too. I agree it's partly the scale because it is a small town, and we've been around, and you know, and you run into lots of people Larry knows. But for sure, when you're here,
He's a good-looking man.
No, he's a good-looking guy. He's charming. His version of
very good-looking
hospitality is amazing. But you know, like
That was so random.
to put it into New York perspective, right, for a second, like whether we take, say, Eugene Ram and Mark Birnbaum, if I take Scott, Scott Sartiano, right, like you go around with Eugene, right, I'm just saying, like, okay.
Tons of people know.
People know us, but like, yeah, because he's in the business. So, when you go into restaurants, to clubs, to hotels, there's an awareness. It's industry too. So I think it's pieces of those, right? It's a little bit that New Orleans is a smaller town. He's also in that business, and Larry, I'm saying, is the best at it, and hospitality is his brand.
But being
right?
from there helped because all the people grew up. I mean, every last time we were at that party in Treme, whatever that was, I mean.
Or were you a second line in the rain?
I was second line in the rain. Literally every single person there knew Larry.
Yeah.
He got into high school with them, and so that was kind of fun. Let's get back to Super Bowl because it's a big deal for you, right? You got nine establishments. You got
Seven. Soon to be 9.
Soon to be 9. You got all the celebrities coming down. You got the athletes coming down. You're gonna have to host people. How are you gonna do this?
I mean, right now I'm having a lot of conversations of people buying up my venues, so that's what I'm looking toward first and foremost. And then I'm looking at all the events that I'll be hosting. But right now I'm looking to sell everything. I've gotten so many phone calls, but the thing about it is that I'm not willing to sell it for anything. Right? I need a certain number in order for me to sell it. If not, I'm gonna make my money.
You gonna have fun down there?
Oh, we're gonna have an amazing time, man. It's about to be like because imagine every year things just get better and better. But this time it's like Super Bowl is in my backyard. Last time Super Bowl was in New Orleans, I think it was in 2013. I was a promoter trying to get a venue, had a few parties, but now I own a bunch of establishments. I built up a brand. I have, today I got a phone call from one of the largest companies in the world about a new opportunity that's happening and which is going to change my life. So, and my family and my, the people around me's lives. So,
That's the next podcast.
so that it's so many opportunity, and then like I'm getting phone calls from Wallow connecting me with this person and this person to connect me with this person because anybody who's coming to New Orleans, 9 times out of 10 they'll be at one of my establishments, or they're going to somebody's telling them to do some business with me. So it's a great position to be in right now.
Yeah, you know what? It's almost like you got to be in it to win it, and he's in it. Right? It's like taking calls, talking to people.
I'm doing all my own calls. I've been
That's what I'm saying.
I've been talking to one company for about 6 months. I'm talking about by myself, negotiating my own deals, putting my own proposals together, typing them up and everything because that's how locked in, and I know how big and how much this can change everything.
So it's like a focus.
Yeah, I'm locked in. I'm locked in for sure.
What when you talk about expanding the business, right? What's pretty cool about it is you have a partner that you've had, right?
Yeah,
Like
JC.
the whole time, JC, and your mom.
So JC, my mom's been my partner. My partner on Morrows and Monday. We collaborated in 2021. Me and JC we partnered on Treehouse and the other establishments.
And the other stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty amazing too. He's 33 years old, right? 7 establishments. Usually you hear that, and I've seen a lot of this where it's cut up. 20 people are invested in this one, 11 are in this, maybe 3 are in that. It gets really complicated. What I really appreciate too, and I think it's interesting to talk about is, Larry's really just like doubled down, reinvested his own proceeds, and managed to keep a really large degree of control around that brand. It's unusual, right? Like usually, when we've been around these things, people are like cutting up and raising money, and it makes it complicated and difficult.
Right.
And of course, at
Yeah,
some
you
point in
told me
time, at some point in time, everybody like to scale needs to think about taking other money. But what did you think about that from the start, or how did you think about that aspect? Because it's unusual that you still control all 7 with JC and your mom.
I mean, so I've been offered money for a long time, even in my producing event days. People will look to give me money, but I never took money because I was always motivated by being able to do my own thing. And so even opened up Morrows, I've had so many people reach out to invest, but I haven't taken a quarter because I'm confused. At this point, I'm confused. Back then, I didn't want to take any money from anyone because I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And I'm big on relationships. I'm not going to take money and not know how or where I'm going to invest it or what I'm going to do and burn a bridge. So I never took any money, but now, I'll even call you and get advice, like, to see about scaling up, like, what do I do? Because, like, even when I was at a gala recently, I was talking to some guys, and they just thought I had investors. And I'm like, no, we don't have any investors. Didn't believe that I opened up all these restaurants on my own. And I'm like, no, I reinvested my money, because some of these establishments, cost, well over $1 million to open up. And, in this industry, it can go, I know Eugene and Grutman and, a lot of people, they put tens of millions of dollars into their establishments. With me, we've been able to do it by, of course, we got a smaller budget, open them up, but just reinvesting. There's times where, I got to go hustle up money in order to put it into a location and get it open. But once I started to get that cash flow and build it up, I was able to really.
Let me ask a question like that, because I've had this philosophy. I might not be right on this, but so many young entrepreneurs who are doing a restaurant or some kind of social establishment want to spend so much money on the build out. And listen, these are hard businesses, right? Restaurants in general, fancy ones make a 12%, return. Nice, bigger ones. I don't know what your margins are, 25% maybe. But you got to put a lot of dollars through at 25% or at 15%. And people want to spend all this money and they're borrowing money to do it. Did you ever have a philosophy of saying, I want to spend less on the build out and more on the experience? Because you can create great vibe without, spending $3 million building out a box.
Right. Well, none of my establishments cost, $3 million to build out, right? Morrow's, it took $300,000 to open up, create a great experience, and we were able to, do, every year we've gotten better, right? And we're maintaining 20 to 25% margins on that, and that's my goal with all my locations.
And what about like the steak restaurant, Morrow Steak?
Oh, right now, like we're starting. We're in the green now, but we're
What did that cost to build out?
It's probably like 1.5, just because it was just so much. Like, I would see things that I didn't like, and I would tear it out and start it with a new designer. So,
so your discipline is slipping on that.
It's a lot of like mistakes I've made, which I know now. But of course, I think at this point it's hard to open up a restaurant for $300,000.
Right.
You go up in there, you gotta establish your identity, you gotta change it up, you gotta hire the right people. It's just a lot that go into it at this point. I can't open up a restaurant again for $300,000. If I could, I would. But I think what I have to provide at this point is so much different than what I had to provide. So I think maintaining those margins, you're able to do a little bit more. Because I go into it knowing what I'm gonna do, right? I'm pretty confident. I know in this industry it's tough and it doesn't happen like that, but I know what.
Do you have one construction company that does all your build out, or?
Well, we do everything. Like
do your own stuff.
JC, he's the construction guy, so he knows what he's doing. So he pretty much managed that. We have our own crew. They're going to tackle everything. So we're not hiring, unless we might have some guys build out some boots or do some stuff that who have the CNC machines and stuff, but it costs a lot more when you're going to hire these big companies to do this work. They're putting 20% on top of it.
Yeah,
so
that's an important point too, right? Like, he's GCing his own restaurants.
Well, yeah, we're doing everything right now.
So, really, like, just managing a bunch of subs. Most people don't do that.
It's really hard to invest in restaurants because you're like, it's a lifestyle place. So you put some money in some guy's restaurant, and it's shocking how many fail. Shocking.
This not a lifestyle play right here. This is a real legacy, family and legacy play right here.
No, for you it is. But for a lot of times, you make a little bit of money, you want to invest in a restaurant. I'm probably...
There's a lot of people that want to do that.
I'm probably 1 for 8 on investing in restaurants.
There's a lot of people that want to do it just to say, I have a restaurant. But, I know a few friends that's opened up some spots, and I'm like, y'all don't know what y'all getting yourself into. Unless you're committed, don't get into it. You got to really want to learn everything. Like, I can do everything but cook, right? I'm not a cook, but when it pertains to the details and the logistics of just the operation, I'm learning more every day. Like, I call Eugene, I call Peter with Catch, I talk to John, a lot of the guys that y'all introduced me to Eugene. They introduced Eugene, like, I call Eugene one day and I'm like, hey, this is the first time after I met him, And like it was months later, I'm like, hey, can I come out there? Because I'm really want to just, I'm like, I'll come work for you. Like I like just mentor me.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, hey, I'm gonna put you on the email with my team. Come out here. So we went out there. We sat in his office for a day and a half, and he's really broke everything down and just answered a lot of questions, set us up with everybody, part of his team. But that was just strictly through a relationship that you guys fostered. So that was a blessing. And then even when I called him again, I'm like, hey, Eugene, I need some advice. He said, hey, look, here's a Zoom link. We got our corporate meeting. Hop on the Zoom call. He told everybody, put me on email with everybody, and he didn't, he just was so willing to help. And that, like, I do the same thing. I try to pay it forward to guys in New Orleans who are restaurateurs or just getting started in the restaurant industry because, I have people like Eugene, I have, you guys who answer questions and mentor me in a sense. So I try to make sure I pay it forward to others by doing the same thing,
It's like a little lightning round on New Orleans. So you've got Mardi Gras, you got Jazz Fest, you got Voodoo Fest, you got Essence, you've got Essence Fest, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
You've got literally almost a celebration every other week. What are your 3 favorite times of the year down there? Just personally and for business.
I think Mardi Gras, Essence, and French Quarter Fest. It's not even Jazz Fest. I grew up like where I grew up, it's literally I can walk across the street into the gate of Jazz Fest. So I've always been, but like French Quarter Fest is a great time. And next year, like Super Bowl is supposed to give us so much momentum to where we're gonna be riding off that momentum for a couple years. But like it's Super Bowl in the same month as Mardi Gras. Then right after that is French Quarter Fest. Right after that is not 4th of July, Essence. So it's so many different things. Jazz Fest. Man, like, next year, I said this year was the best year of my life, but I believe next year will be the best year.
So question, how does New Orleans, just the air of it or the people of it, how do they feel about, as I've heard how Lil Wayne feel, how does New Orleans feel about Lil Wayne not getting the Super Bowl and Kendrick getting it?
I mean, we all
not even your view if you don't want to give your view.
Not even from my view. I think a lot of people, of course, when you're from somewhere, you're naturally going to feel that, Wayne, who has had so much impact on culture, influence in hip hop, you would think that he's going to get it, right? But when you look at the bigger picture, I think it's like, all right, cool. They say they had discrepancies between Jay-Z and Wayne and this and that. I just think that, he's a great artist and should be a part of it. But I just guess that's not part of their plan.
And people compare moment, though.
Yeah, people compare like this being,
I just wanna know
the West Coast, what happened in LA, what happened in New Orleans. But I think we're going to feel a certain way. I mean, because we feel like Wayne deserves that spot. Him being one of the greatest rappers of all time. So it's a natural.
Anybody
feeling.
like boycotting the Super Bowl show because of it?
Nah, not that I heard of. Nah.
Kendrick's on fire.
No, I know.
Yeah,
but
Kendrick's on fire right now.
Never liked
This is I love Kendrick. What are you talking about? This is a big. It's a big conversation in hip hop.
Right. At Louisiana Fest.
Because the thing is, we don't know if it's true or not. They said Jay-Z stopped it from happening because of, personal issues they had 10 years ago. Is it true? I don't fucking know.
At Louisiana Fest the other day, Wayne, he got on stage, and this was like the Hot Boy reunion.
Yeah.
And he got on stage, and he felt like it was taken from him. He felt like he should have had it, and he said this live.
Yeah, he said it.
And I feel like
did he say who he felt like took it from him?
No, he didn't say who, but he felt like that moment was taken from him, and he felt like I think when you have Wayne has influenced culture, hip hop, the whole nine so much, right? It's not many people a part of the industry that can say the same, right? There's very few.
Agreed.
And so,
Who are the other great New Orleans rappers?
Oh, there's plenty
Juvenile.
great, but yeah, plenty great. Like you can play Juvenile. Juvenile on tour right now. Him and Manny Fresh. Master P actually presented him with the key to the city with the mayor. So that was a great moment for him. And also we're starting this this Walk of Fame where it's like kind of like similar to like the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but it's like a fleur de lis. And Wayne would be the first one to be on that Walk of Fame.
It's pretty dope.
How's it been working with a partner all this time? Like, in other words, how do you guys split it up, or how do you manage it? Do you have conflict, or is it ever? Or
well, so I could tell you this: like when we first started, me and my mom, like, man, opening up a business with your mother, it was tough because you got your partners, but then I'm her son. So it was a lot of we were butting heads a lot, and it was tough to the point to where it was times where we were just like, you know what, we can't do this, and willing to sacrifice the business just for the
And
sanity
you
of
guys
our
are close in
relationship.
age.
Well,
But your
we're
mom
not
had
that-
you young.
Well, my mom,
Just
well,
4.
I'm 33. My mom's 33. I'm 33. My mom's 52. She turned 52 this Sunday. So,
Both young I call them both young adults.
We're real close. We're real close. So, it was tough, but we got past that part. And she, honestly, she really just told me that we're both like very dominant. She's a very dominant woman, and with me, I like things how I like it. And she recently told me, she was like, I realized I just had to step back and just let you do, what you do, because I'm so invested into this, and this went from us owning a restaurant to, wanting to build one of the largest Black hospitality groups in the country, and but not limited to, the mission became bigger, because when you look at this space, it's not many African American people in hospitality, right? Yeah. I don't know many that,
Is there another group that you like look at and say, I want to be like that group?
Well, there's a group that I love, and I always say this, like they're very relevant in this, in hospitality, right? It's A-Life in Houston, right? Homies of mine, and there are also some guys who I would reach out to and get information from, and we would build. So, but when it pertains to a group that I want to be like, or that I admire several, like, Eugene. I'm a big fan of Catch. Prior to meeting Eugene, and when I went to Catch in 2017, right before Morrow's opened up, I'm like, I want Morrow's to be the Catch of New Orleans. And I was just in love with the vibe, just the energy. And so it was like a full circle moment when we had dinner at, Mike's house with Eugene. But I definitely want to be able to influence people in this, a lot of African Americans in hospitality, because it's not many, right? Mm-hmm. So when I do research and I'm looking up different hospitality groups to just learn from and just do research on, it's not many that I run across and they look like me.
Yeah.
So part of the mission is to inspire the next generation of people in culinary, restaurateurs, and just people who just love to get into the space or love hospitality, but to open it up. Because like a new building I'm looking to acquire is in, it's called Metairie. Mm-hmm. So it's right 15 minutes outside of New Orleans. And one of my main reasons for wanting to open up this location was because I told the guy who owns the location, I said, I want to bring, there's no restaurants around here that are Black owned. Mm-hmm. It's a strip of, restaurants that just aren't owned by any African Americans. Mm-hmm. And I think that alone says a lot, because to go into a community where it's so prominent, but, it's so much visibility, it's like all Westheimer, which is veterans, and to have the opportunity, I told them, like, this means a lot. Like, this not just the money. Yeah. I'm just not doing this just to make money. I'm doing it to, show people what's possible at the same time.
What's your goals with the business? What are you thinking about for your whole, for Morrow's, your whole empire?
At first it was JC told me recently, he said, man, when I asked you this question, a year or 2 years ago, it was like you wanted a certain dollar amount. And then he asked me the question again, like maybe 2 months ago, and it was more so, it wasn't about the money. It became less about the money and more about the legacy, the impact. I think when you are walking in your purpose and you're doing something that feels good, money is the byproduct. It's something that, you naturally, it starts to stick to you,
Yeah.
And so now it's no longer about that. It's about setting my family up and being the one, as the patriarch of my family, being the one who changes what the next 100 years look like for my family, right? So setting my daughter up, setting her kids up. Yeah. And that's my goal, man. Like, that's really what I want to do. And, it's just something that, it shifted because, I wanted to be, a lot of things that I cared about 2 years ago, I no longer care about. I've been around, like, honestly, being around, seeing the best of both worlds, just seeing everything, like, seeing what it's like growing up and how, you think you got a watch, you think you got money, you think you got a car, you think you got money.
Then we go to the Monte Carlo.
You feel me? Like, so it's like, but being able to travel the world, with yourself, Mel, everybody, right? And see the other side of life and see what money actually look like. It's not something that, it's not something you wear. It's something, it's something you you have is wealth, right? So like my perspective changed a lot because of what I've been able to see in the past few years. Because I no longer want a lot of things that I wanted. Like right now, I want to be able to, set my family up, and that's really the goal.
I was just gonna say that's cool and plugs into like when we had the EYL guys on here, right? Like Rashad, Troy, talking about just like investing for the future. A little bit of that like quick money versus like long-term money. And it's like an interesting perspective, right? To Larry talk about that.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
I was just gonna say, listen, we've known you, I don't know, not 5 years-ish. Love you.
Yeah.
Had a ton of fun with you. Love the knowledge you're dropping. But we always wrap up right around an hour. And we always ask our guests to kind of, you've given a lot of good nuggets of gold. Mel had this idea called Business Entitled, and I liked an ounce of gold, and these two have voted me down, but Dave was nice enough to bring a bunch of ounce of gold. So we give our guest an ounce of gold in exchange for your last wisdom to the audience, your ounce of gold, a little legacy ounce of gold. And you get an ounce of gold. We have a sponsor, JM Bullion.
Ounce of gold.
Oh man! So this is my second one I got. I got one for David's birthday. He gave everybody an ounce of gold.
Oh, that's right, on his birthday down in Dominican.
Who was in Mexico? Yeah, Mexico. Yeah. So Dominican. Something that I recently wrote this speech for this gala, right? And something like when I was writing this speech, it was something that resonated with me. Like it was like a feeling, and it says, "Lead with impact and leave with legacy," right? And it's simple, but it resonated with me so much because a lot of people, they're leading. A lot of people want to be bosses. They don't want to be leaders. And a boss is somebody who's. And I heard it from Master Pete. He was like, we had dinner recently, and he was like, a boss is someone who's self-centered, right? A leader is somebody who's actually who cares about the people around them and is going to lead them, right? And so when I wrote this speech, I had that in mind. It was like lead with impact, leave with legacy. So I want to be able to impact as many people as I can while I'm here, but I also want to be able to leave. When I do leave, I want to be able to leave with legacy and set my family up.
Well done.
That's amazing. Well, man, it's been so good to know you over the last few years, and I'm always like really impressed with how you've built your business and just the gratitude you show. I think that's a really cool thing about Larry as well, right? He's always thinking beyond just the dollars or just the the thing of the moment. And I think
everything I've ever invited Larry
inspiration.
to. And New Orleans isn't an hour away. It's a 3-hour flight. Everything I've ever invited Larry to, he shows up with a cool sweater. Sometimes that was a lot of sweater. But he shows up. He shows it with spirit. So good point.
I just want to say thank y'all, Mel, my brother, from another, man. It's been like 13 years now, and I appreciate you, the opportunity, because, because of Mel, we all got connected, and because of that, I connected with a lot of people, and I've been able to see a lot of things. And that's like work. That's priceless, right? So I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Mel, what do you say?
Mel.
Like, subscribe.
Peace out.
Yeah.
No, thank y'all. All right.
Yeah.
Well done. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And,
Appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate it.